While we wait for people to trickle in, I'm going to read our disclaimer so we can get started. Wook Capital Management Inc. and its employees solely provide investment advisory services to family clients and do not provide investment advisory services to the general public. Furthermore, investments are highly speculative in nature and involve substantial risk of loss. We encourage investors to obtain advice from your professional investment advisor and to make independent investigations before acting on information that we publish. We cannot assure you that the information is accurate or complete. We do not in any way warrant or guarantee the success of any action you take in reliance on our statements or recommendations. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All investment decisions of an individual remain the specific responsibility of that individual. So here we have the 46th edition of the Wook in Review. You can subscribe here, go to newsletter.wook.gg, and you'll be able to get these every week in your inbox. This week we're talking about steel, the AMC APE deal, which has been approved, shockingly, and then AI job frenzy that's been going on. Everyone knows AI is the hottest thing in tech right now. So we'll skip over to the AMC stock plan. So we know recently this was shut down and the AMC shares went flying, but it's been a reversal. It was really just a language issue, so it seemed like what was in the proposal, the wording wasn't appropriate. So it's been changed now, and shares of AMC have now fallen 27%. So I don't know what it closed at today. I guess we'll take a look. 409. So just kind of flat today, about 1%, but not looking great. Not looking great for the apes. There's going to be a lot more dilution. It's going to be this 10-for-1 reverse stock split. So it's going to look like it's gone up in value, but it really hasn't. And yeah, there's also a lawsuit between shareholders to prevent this conversion, but that was blocked last month by a Delaware court. So we also had an article I liked in Bloomberg called "Are You Rich?" And this one was about essentially a survey of people that made over $500,000 or up to $5 million or more, and how they felt about their net worth. Did they feel like they were poor? Did they feel like they were barely getting by? Were they comfortable? Did they know they were rich? Right? These people making over $5 million or more, they're still complaining and declaring themselves. Some people in the survey did say that they felt like they were very poor / barely getting by. And I want to know who is making 5 million or more a year and saying they're very poor, and what they're doing with the money to feel poor. Because that's phenomenal. Other than that, the $500,000 to $1 million bracket thought they were mostly comfortable. Most of the survey respondents felt they were comfortable. And I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to pin this in the nest. Let me throw this one up there. This is this article here. So, yeah, great article. Charlie Wells wrote this one in Bloomberg. Take a look at it. He surveyed people making millions of dollars and asked them how they felt about their net worth. And shockingly, half of the people describe themselves as just comfortable. And very few people in this survey acknowledge themselves as rich or very rich. Next thing we looked at was the $900,000 AI job put out by Netflix. So we had a job listing at Netflix put out that said total compensation for the machine learning platform listing there was $900,000 a year, which has been quite the story going around, especially with these Hollywood strikes. So people are curious whether or not this will continue. You look at the change in job postings on Indeed. Overall, the U.S. has had a slowdown in job postings on Indeed. But when it comes to jobs related to generative AI, absolutely blow it up. It's increased 3 times over the past year. Another thing we're looking at is the U.S. steel stock, so X, soaring nearly 40% after they rejected the offer by Cleveland Cliffs. That was a $7.25 billion offer, which would have been a 43% premium on Cleveland, on U.S. Steel stock. So the stock obviously surged more than 29% on Monday. Cliffs even jumped about 7%. But turns out Steel's not taking the deal. They're not interested. You're looking at the stock now. Let's see how it's traded. Nope, not stock X. I guess I'll just have X stock, right order. We have, let's see. You can still see the jump is pretty big. It's only up about 10% over the past week, but you look at over the last month, it's up 25%. So still a lot of people interested in what happens next. They're going to conduct some strategic review to figure out what's next for the business, but that's where we've left off here. We've also got a note here in the newsletter. If you tune into the Wook Book Club, we'll be hosting the next discussion on the due diligence Discord server. So that'll help us foster a more tight-knit setting where we can screen share and show off different pages of the book while we go through the discussion. This month, it'll be Fooled by Randomness, and it'll be on the last Tuesday of the month, which is the 29th. So feel free to tune into that. It's always a great time. Nice, small discussion on a book. Got enough time to read it until 29th. Let's see. So yeah, today's 18th. Got about 11 days if you haven't read it yet. Otherwise, we still go through it. We still go through summaries. We still welcome anyone to join in the discussion. But now that I've kind of gone through the prepared remarks, anyone wants to come up and speak and share their thoughts on anything I've said, you're more than welcome. I'll invite our Twitter speakers up here. We got one request. Yes, come up here, Exit Liquidity. How's it going? Are you driving?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. I'm going home. But I usually don't get a chance to speak in these spaces. So I just wanted to take this opportunity and say thank you for all the work that you guys are putting out. I really like the idea behind Wook Capital. It's clean, it's simple, and it's very easy to understand for a novice trader, novice retail trader like me. So just wanted to say thanks and appreciate your work.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I think the book club's a great time for anyone of any skill level, right? That's been always the thesis with creating this social platform. It's just getting everyone across all skill levels to participate in the discussion, because you can learn stuff from anyone, right? Especially when we go back to GameStop, which is how we all met. It didn't take a vast knowledge of the markets to take a look at a company like GameStop.
That's true. Yeah, the info out there is like very lopsided. Generally, it's either very basic, like what's a stock or what's a bond, versus like look at this very complicated algorithm that we executed in a microsecond for $1 million gain sort of tutorials out there, and it's really hard to find something that's in between that doesn't blow people out of their minds and just keep you informed in a relatively good way. And I really like you guys in that perspective.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. I think it'll be great as we slowly transition over more programming to the GMEDD handle. We're going to try and foster a bigger and bigger discussion. So obviously we don't have too many people tuning into the Wook Capital account. We have a lot more followers over on GMEDD. We're hoping we can have a bigger and bigger discussion every week, but keep it a tight-knit group of people, the ragtag group of investors that love to collaborate with one another. We got Chris back this week. Chris, it's quiet. We don't have Rod, but welcome you up to speak. Share your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I've been kind of in the process of moving to a new place, so I haven't really had time to join these spaces.
Yeah. Are you still in SoCal?
Yeah, I'm in SoCal. I just moved to a place just maybe a few miles away.
Gotcha. Are you going to brace yourself for this hurricane, or is it not making its way up to you?
Yeah, I'm by the beach, so I don't know if it's really bad here.
Yeah, I'm over in San Diego. Everyone's been freaking out about it. It's been quite the talk of the town. So it'll be curious.
Yeah.
It'll be curious to see what happens. I feel like it's not going to be much, because people tend to freak out here over nothing, because everyone's used to this beautiful weather all the time. So when there's a little bit of rain, it's suddenly a big deal. I'm gonna definitely put my cars in the garage and hope nothing gets damaged. But I can't imagine it's gonna be anything serious. I put up with way worse living in Connecticut.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think we've had a hurricane here before. It's kind of weird. Tropical storm, I guess. I don't know if we can call
Yeah,
it a
yeah, I
hurricane.
saw somebody said it's like been over 100 years since there was one. So I'm kind of excited. It'll
Yeah,
be fun. We'll see what happens.
it feels pretty exciting, but yeah, I think it'll probably make landfall in Baja, right? So,
That's what I saw. Yeah,
so I think hopefully it'll slow down once it hits land.
maybe we'll just get a bunch of rain, and that'll be it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, like my
Just cl-
weather. Yeah,
yeah, I just cleaned up my yard like a few weeks ago, so hopefully I don't have to do that again. I know that was quite
yeah,
the job. But
yeah.
any interesting trades this week, Chris? You want to share with us?
I was short Tesla last week, and I sold a cash secured put against it, and it's like way in the money now.
Yeah,
So, but yeah,
let's
I mean,
let's test that now. I'm gonna look it up here.
it's at like
Two
215.
fifteen. Yeah,
Yeah.
down.
The
Ooh,
thing
yeah,
is,
down 9% past week.
yeah, it's when it shits the
Ooh,
bed, it just really shits. It's
yeah,
really hard to catch a bounce.
yeah, really shit. 26% over the past month.
And then when Tesla is like going up, like it just keeps going up every day.
Yeah,
Like there's
it's
no
a roller
like,
coaster.
yeah, it's like a big roller coaster. So like I guess like if you're playing either way, you have to like short into weakness. When it's really the narrative is kind of breaking apart, and then when mania hits the whole market, you just got to avoid it. Going short, just go long, or just don't buy it.
Yeah, everyone's been talking about Burry's puts this week, but I don't believe they're actually recent filing. Their filings were just made, but like the trades were back in June, from what I learned. But that's been the talk on Twitter. Everyone's trying to follow whether or not he's wrong or right on that trade.
Yeah, I mean he has a portfolio of long holdings, so it's not like he's just short. But
Yeah, that
he
was.
probably
But is it?
saw IV was low, right? He's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, IV's pretty low. I'll just buy some long dated stuff, and you know, um, just as a hedge for the whole portfolio. I mean, it is a big position, but
I
it's
think it
not
was.
1.6 billion. But
Yeah, it was a big relative to his portfolio. It was a really big position. Dated June 30th.
yeah, because in late July, I think we saw a big uptick in volatility, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, he's he's not done very poorly, but I mean, his long holdings haven't done really well either. So, but yeah, it's been a weird market, that's for sure.
sure as hell has been. I'm reading
Mm-hmm.
the tweets on Burry now. I haven't pulled up. Let's see. Yeah, 1.6 billion. Obviously, that's the nominal value, but whatever he paid, much lower than 1.6 billion. Yeah, people just love to freak out because of his reputation, because of his big short. People think he's
Yeah,
gonna call it again, but who knows? Who knows? Not saying he's wrong, not saying
yeah,
he's right, but he is worth following. I miss back when he would tweet. He doesn't tweet anymore. He used to tweet.
yeah. He was very
Now I guess he would
political,
post. Yep, he was out there.
and
He would delete them 5 seconds after posting them.
yeah, and he was very political. And the thing is, like during COVID, he was very long. He bought a
Yeah,
lot of stocks,
he
so
was.
people see him as a short seller, but he's mostly a long investor. He's not like a Chanos, right? Like Jim Chanos has a fund where he just shorts stuff
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
So um, he's not like that. Chanos like
What
is
longs does Burry have right now? Is there like a current? Let's see. Let's go back to that account.
they're in
A
his
current look at
13F.
his. Yeah, let's pull that up.
He has a bunch of stuff, but he added to Geo Group with the prison stock, and I think he's still in QRT, the Qrate, the retail, um, like HSN online
Yep,
TV shopping.
Expedia, CVS, MGM. iHeartMedia. There's some interesting ones in here.
CVS got hammered this week.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
big
what I was
issue.
pointing out.
It's just
What?
the
How
guy
much?
can't catch a break.
Yeah, down 10%. And it's like, that was like a 12% drop when it did drop though. Went from 72 down to 65. Like very abrupt. Wow. Yeah, CVS.
Like a big part of the bull thesis for CVS is Aetna, and this kind of is a big overhang on that business.
Yeah, it's down 36% over the past year.
Yeah.
And what was getting pummeled by the Maui stuff? I mean, there's a stock I saw.
HE,
H
the Hawaiian
HE.
Electric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people traded that. I mean, it's kind of similar to what happened to PG&E, back in 2018. I was in that one back then. It was rough.
Wow, down 64% over the past month. Pretty much all happened overnight too. Wow.
Yeah.
So are they mostly based in Maui? Like, why did they face the repercussions so much?
I think they might be liable for a power line.
Oh, yeah.
Fire.
Mm.
They don't have that same law that California has with like utilities. I think like in Paradise, they were like liable a lot for what happened, and it basically just like made it uninvestable. But Hawaiian Electric, I don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people are just longing it, buying it and selling it, buying it and shorting
Swing trading it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the situations where there's a lot of volatility. People like it. They make money both ways.
It's pretty ugly. It says, the utilities, power lines, and equipment are one potential source of the fire that has claimed the lives of more than 100 people, a death toll that is expected to rise once the more than 1,000 missing people are accounted for. Wow, yeah. At what point 1,000 people missing? That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really sad.
It is. Lawyers have filed at least 4 lawsuits against the company.
Oh wow, I'm surprised there wasn't a big military response. Like usually when there's a disaster, the National Guard or the there's like the local like the military bases, they'll send in some ships or something to go help. I think on the island there's some bases too. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird that the government didn't have like a quick response. But I mean, I don't expect Joe Biden to show up, because he's the president. He's in Washington, and it's more of like a photo op thing. But
at least probably will show up. Just, do the photo op thing now that it's happened. But what a crazy story. I mean, crazy story. Living here in San Diego, I actually know quite a few people spend a lot of time in Hawaii because it's so close. It's a lot of people I know been posting about it, sharing their experiences over there, and it's crazy. Never would have thought.
Yeah,
Let's see who else we have in the call here. Exit liquidity. You have any thoughts on the situation here?
I'm aware of the incident, but I haven't looked into it. I mostly trade oil and minerals. I haven't been actively trading this past month due to work and, just life in general. All my oil stocks positions are doing relatively okay. Even the minerals have been adding on dips. I'm not sure if it's going to keep dipping, but there are a couple of tech, TECK, and REMX are 2 of my biggest positions. I just keep DCing into them. I'll just, make sure, I'm just going to keep an eye on them. If it's going to fall a lot in the next couple of months, I'll just add them next year. Same with Exxon, and I'm into Sandridge and a couple of other oil stocks. That's pretty much it. Yeah, unrelated to trading, I'm happy for you guys that it's gonna rain in San Diego. A couple of my friends live in OC, and they always brag about how nice SoCal is. And I didn't get the appeal like until I visited them, and yeah, like I fell in love with it the very first time I was there. I live in Houston, so send some rain our way. It's been scorching for a couple of months, for the last couple of months here. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, the last couple of days have been pretty gloomy, but overall, you can expect pretty beautiful weather year round. So definitely appreciate it, especially coming from Connecticut where weather is just cold and miserable half the year. You don't even want to go outside. So I definitely love it. Definitely appreciate it. Chris, did you take a look at the APE AMC deal? Have you been trading it?
I think I was short APE for a few days, but I'm pretty sure I closed my short. Yeah, made a small profit. But
Hey, I'm give you props for that. I can't believe that this is actually a real thing that's happened, right? The company is issued preferred equity units and called them apes, and now they're going to enact a 10-for-1 reverse stock split. It's absurd. It makes no sense. And
it's
I
back
wonder
at
if this
$4 again.
what's
AMC
it trading at? I need to see stock.
$4.
Oh my gosh.
It crashed down to like 3, and then
Yeah,
now it's at 4. And there's still a couple days. I guess it's the borrow
I
fee is
can't.
like,
Is the market cap still really $2 billion?
well, that's just AMC, and then you have to add APE, which has twice the float of shares.
Wow,
So it's about 5-6 billion, I think.
that's insane. That is
Yeah,
wow. You can't underestimate the power of a cult. That's a frenzy. That's I can't believe it's still going on. I mean, wow. So
yeah.
the deal's been approved. There was just an issue with some of the verbiage, I believe. So they changed some wording, and now the deal's been pushed through. I wonder if this becomes the pretense to other companies seeing like this form of dilution, and then whether or not they can do something similar. It seems incredibly dirty. We know that AMC had been calling to a vote, just pure dilution, and all the shareholders voted no. Not all of them, but majority shareholders voted no. So they instead created APE, and now they're just merging with APE to dilute the company. Which, wow, dirty. I don't know how people can still love Adam Aaron. When I was looking up photos of Adam Aaron just for the news article here. Some of these headlines are like ridiculous. Where is this one right here? The Street. Is Adam Aaron the best CEO ever? Like, come on. What is this dated? August 12th, 2021. Wow. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
best CEO ever.
I mean, I'm not surprised nowadays. It's just the level of education, right, among the average person in this financial markets is like pretty low. Average, investor. Um, like for example, BBBYQ is up 11% today. It's up 11%. The market cap is 150 million.
Yeah, it's higher than Playboy.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Maybe we just need Playboy to declare bankruptcy. Then we'll then the tendies start pouring in.
I mean, yeah. If your thesis is, to liquidate the business, yeah, that might be an option.
We got
But
Psych in here again this week. Psych, how you doing?
How's it going, gents?
Yeah.
So I'm actually working at my parents' store right now, so I'm just chilling and listening to you guys. And
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a quiet week. We got no Rob this week. He's out of office, so I'm filling in. Gonna keep this going for maybe another, I don't know, how much longer we want to chat. I've got no schedule here. So
yeah, and it's good just to like
we've been
recap the
talking.
market and then learn from you guys.
Yeah, let's see. So yeah, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this Bloomberg article is fascinating to me. The "Are You Rich?" where they surveyed all different tranches of earners, and essentially asked them how they feel. Like, how do they feel rich? Do they feel poor? And it was fascinating to me that there were people making over $5 million a year who said that they feel like they're barely getting by. And then I have this one pinned in the nest. So if you haven't seen this article, check it out. But it seemed like people earning between 500,000 and $1 million. Most of those people declared themselves as comfortable. Very, very tiny percentage of those people figured themselves as rich, even though you look at, like, average income in America, they are doing quite well. They're more than comfortable. So this was a fascinating story to me. I really do find whatever survey respondent said that they felt they were very poor, making over 5 million. I want to know what their spending habits are, who their friends are. They're probably hanging out with billionaires, and that's why they feel poor. But yeah,
Yeah,
this
actually,
this was a
I'm
fun one.
actually not surprised that there's that article and up to 5 million. Well, maybe the $5 million is a little slightly surprising, but lifestyle creep is real, and like I'm not sure if you're like Rod, where you're still in New York, right? Or
I'm in SoCal. I live in San Diego.
oh shoot, okay, never mind then. You're like my area, so like even like in the LA area, there's like a lot of people that deals with like uh Silicon Beach money type folks, and yeah, like with everything that they spend per year, and then like with like inflation going up and all, like just like the general expenses for like day-to-day life, I'm actually not surprised that like for certain people, like the ones that have like a bunch of like debt that they gotta pay off, that they feel poor or like
Yeah,
scared about like what's like coming down the pipeline, I guess. But
yeah. Well, if you're raising a family and you live in Southern California and you're making 300,000, 400,000 a year in the household. And I mean, I can see it. Like, it's crazy. Like, if I want to get Uber Eats delivered and I want to get some Chick-fil-A, right? That's going to cost me here in San Diego. It's going to be $35, $40 for like one person. It's going to be, some tenders. It's going to be some waffle fries, maybe some mac and cheese. If you haven't had Chick-fil-A mac and cheese, you got to try it. It's the best. But that's going to be, after tax, tip, and all the service charges. Even with the Uber One subscription, that's still like going to be 35, $40. So that's, you do that enough times. I can see how you end up barely getting by, even though you're making six-figure income. So there's there's also rent here is crazy. It's pretty expensive. So I can understand it, but really does truly depend where you live, what your lifestyle is. How much do you spend on food is like a huge thing. I notice I spend a large percentage of my money on food, and maybe that's just where I live. Food's expensive here. If I go out and get a chicken sandwich, it's going to be at least $15 for just the sandwich. And then if you want anything more, I never get a drink when I go out to eat. I never get like a soft drink, but still adds up. And I can see it. But yeah, there is some absurdity, undeniable absurdity to making over a million. And so right about this. It says anyone earning between a million to 5 million. The majority of respondents said that was comfortable. Very little, not none, but very little said that they felt they were rich, and some even declared that they felt they were poor. So yeah, fascinating survey. Check that out. Uh, can't believe it.
Yeah, lifestyle creep is very real. I mean, once you take a few, vacations, and when certain people go on vacations, they spend a lot more than other people that kind of like to travel on a budget. Eating, right? If you go out to eat a lot, right, it's gonna make things more expensive. And a lot of some people that make less, they just cook at home, so they just don't spend much on these things. And yeah, and also taxes are high in these blue states, like in California and in New York. So in addition to the income tax, federal income tax, you got the state tax. So after all that, your take home is like a lot smaller than what your nominal income is. And then that lifestyle creep is just gets a lot of people, I guess.
Totally, yeah. I mean, you get a bonus at work. You're like, oh, now I can afford a nicer car. So suddenly, you're never saving more money. You're just improving the quality of your things as you make more money, and maybe spending a little bit more on the vacation, things like that. I just traveled for a few months. I went the first time ever going to Eastern Asia, and the way I travel personally is pretty frugal. Just purely because I find that's the most fun, right? Like I don't care to stay in the nicest hotels and go to resorts. For me, I would stay in when I was in Japan. I would stay in the capsules. You know, it's a very authentic experience. When I was in Vietnam, I rented a motorcycle and I went all through the country and I would stay in these homestays. And these are like people, these are like Vietnamese families that like rent out a bedroom in their house overnight to like travelers. And that for me was like much more authentic. They cook you dinner. Granted, I will be honest, wasn't my kind of food and it wasn't very good in my opinion. But it was definitely authentic. Food in Hanoi was great, but like out in like Ha Giang and these like remote areas, and not so great. So yeah, maybe I'm just used to a piggy American food, but overall, that's the way I travel. I love to just be scrappy. I love to be a little bit spontaneous. I don't care for the luxuries. I mean, I can do them. Like when I was in the Philippines, I went on a few boats. I rented a helicopter, things like that. But it is cheap there. It is much cheaper. So the things I indulge in while I'm there, because when I'm in California, it's not really something I care to spend my money on.
Yeah, and like I guess you're single right now, I'm assuming, but for people who have
Yes.
families, have a wife and kids, and especially
Oh
for
yeah.
kids, saving for college and spent, just kids want stuff, and people like to
hmm
spoil their kids. So
hmm
that stuff can add up, you know,
I remember being a
and
kid
life.
and just yeah, yeah, what? Yep. I remember being a kid and just I looking back, oh my God, I feel so bad. The crap I made my parents buy me. Granted, they were pretty frugal too. I didn't get everything I wanted. I was brought up on a farm. I spent a lot of time out in the vegetable fields, but still, I new tech gadgets. I was always a computer guy. You know, I always wanted the latest Nintendo DS and things like that. I'm 24 now, so that was what I was brought up with was the Game Boy, the DS, the Wii. I love that stuff, and that's part of why I ended up the way I am. I think is I spent so much time with computers and not as much time out on the farm. Fell in love with it, and now here I am, on the other side of the country, no longer farming. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but no, totally lifestyle creep's real. Um, I still try to live pretty frugal though.
Yeah, I got some Pokemon cards. I got some pretty rare ones, but I'm kind of afraid to get them graded because I'm afraid of, they'll get stolen or whatever, or they'll get damaged. And
But you're in LA, correct?
yeah, yeah.
I have to imagine that's like out of the entire U.S., that would be the place you could get them graded locally. Is that true?
I really don't know. I honestly don't know like much about this. I went to the PSA website and like it's the way they charge is really weird. Like you have to like give it your own value for the card, and
hmm
then they charge you based on how much you think the card is worth, which is kind of weird.
What if you say it's worth $1? Is it not going to grade you as well?
I guess so, right? Like if they saw me do that, they would be like, fuck, like screw this guy. Like
hmm
I'm just gonna give him the worst grade because he's not paying us anything. It's like kind of a weird way to charge for this service, but yeah, like for some really rare ones, like if I have a Charizard, right? Like
Yeah,
I mean, I want to get that graded, but like if I think it's worth in the thousands, and they'll charge me 1,500, $500 or 1,000 to grade it, like
that's
I
crazy.
mean, that's a big risk for me, because I don't
hmm
know how much this thing is really worth.
That is a huge risk. You've been following that guy that pulled that Magic the Gathering card that was 1 of 1, and he had
Oh
like
yeah,
a Twitter video going around.
that's crazy.
Absolutely freaked out guy. How much did he sell it for? It was millions. I don't know if it was declared the
Oh
amount
wow,
exact amount.
yeah. I don't think I have any cards like that, but
No, yeah. Post Malone bought it apparently.
oh
Oh
yeah,
no, was it Magic or Lord of the Rings? I don't know.
it was like a
One
Magic
Ring.
Lord of the Rings card. I think
Gotcha.
it was
Yeah,
like a one ring card,
yeah. That's what it was.
but
It wasn't
yeah,
even.
it's
It didn't even get a perfect grade. It's the only one in existence. Yeah, it's a 9. It's not a 10. It's a 9.
Oh wow. He didn't pay
And
enough, I guess.
I guess not. He probably told him it was worth half of what it's really worth. Imagine some kid open that first time buying a deck of cards, opens it, throws it in the closet, doesn't think anything of it.
Yeah, that's probably why they make more than one for most of the time.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't know what any of my Pokemon cards were worth back when I was a kid. I still have them all back in my family's on the family farm, probably in a closet someplace. But I remember having some huge collection, and I windowed it. I got rid of most of it and kept just the ones that I thought were cool looking, like the Charizards and things. Nothing of no first editions or anything crazy, but yeah, I remember I used to love Pokemon cards, but haven't ever gotten back into that. So
yeah, honestly, I'm just hoping I can get a lot of money from. I'm not really into it right now, but since I was like 10, so.
What is the game like? Do you play or you just collect the cards?
I've never played the card game. There was a card game, but like nobody played it.
Okay.
Maybe some people still go to like conventions and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I heard it's like just not as good of a game as Magic the Gathering or some of these other ones.
That
So
makes
it's
sense.
like it's not as like balanced or whatever. So people just don't play it. Or just fun.
Just to collect the cards. So I used to collect Counter-Strike skins, and I used to gamble on the skins and play matches with them because I was back in 2016, maybe 2015. Used to be big into CS:GO is what it was, and I would collect all these different skins on Steam, and that was huge. Like at the time, that was really big market. There were all these gambling websites you could trade the skins around. Some of them skins were worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and it wasn't until I was uberly confident in GME I sold my entire collection. It was weird to sell because Steam only wants you to sell, or Valve only wants you to sell on Steam. They don't want you to sell and get like real money. They want you to just get like essentially like Steam gift card money, right? You can only spend on the Steam store. But like I have no reason. No, I don't want a few $1,000 in Steam credits, right? That's just I'm never gonna buy enough games for that to be worth it. So I had to deal with some sketchy website that like I traded the skins to, and then the website declares it'll like send me the money on PayPal. But that website also doesn't want you to actually cash out. They want you to keep the money on their website and buy skins from them. So it took like 2 or 3 months until I actually got my money. I had to email them like once a week until they finally actually cashed me out. But immediately threw all that money in GameStop. That was nice. I think that was around like $19 or so a share. So that was pretty fortunate. So I got rid of my Steam, got rid of my CS:GO collection, turned it all into GameStop shares, and shortly thereafter, did well on that. So that was a lucky timing of me that that company did finally pay out a week or two before the January 21 frenzy. Let's see, who else we have in the listeners here? I'll throw anyone up wants to speak. You're more than welcome to speak. We'll talk about just about anything. Try to keep it oriented to financial markets, but sometimes, have a discussion on just about anything. Let's see. It's about, let's see. So here in Cali, it's about 148. So East Coasters looking at about 448. We'll probably wrap this up in the next 12 minutes or so. We'll call it about an hour long look and review. That's kind of how long I think they should be. And then the open mics we host on Wednesdays, we typically allow to go for about 2 hours. So if you haven't tuned into that yet, that's hosted over on GMEDD. And Baron coming up to speak. How's it going?
Fine. Thanks a lot for letting me speak. So I've been listening to you guys. Yes, I just wanted to know, like, has any one of you ever looked at some European stocks? There is a stock called Teleperformance. Has any one of you know about it?
What's the ticker?
TEP. It's listed in Paris. TEP, Teleperformance.
Gotcha. I see it here on Yahoo. Do you have a position in this?
No, I have a tiny position, like, but the thing is, this was like, right now they are in a merger with another big company. They're one of the biggest call center operators in the world, and they have been what you I should say, like the indirect victim of all this AI hype. So the thesis is like, once the AI the narrative is like, the AI is going to negatively impact this business, and they are going to lose all their clients. So, and then they also had a recent recently the stock was about like 160 something, 150, and they had a weak, I would not say a bad earning, but a weak guidance, an earning release with a weak guidance. And then the short seller again, like, they started putting pressure on stock, and here we are right now. So if you look at the chart, it looks like Meta. The chart looks like Meta. So I just wanted to know if anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I see it was $260 6 months ago, and now it's 115. It definitely, I understand the thesis behind AI hype dying down, because you still need like real people. I personally, when I call into any sort of support center and I'm speaking to a robot, it doesn't fool me for more than 5 seconds. And I don't think in the next 2-3 years that's changing. I don't think in short term that's going to be any better. I want to just talk to a human, usually because they can pull more strings, right? The AI is probably just designed to like get you off the phone as soon as possible. But that's an interesting idea. I mean, I hate when I call and I'm speaking to some sort of robot.
Yeah,
So I can understand that. I think call centers aren't going anywhere, at least not in the short term. That's interesting.
Yeah, but this company was like really run by a very reputed team. It's not owned by some, the crap PE guys who just buy companies, then they extract juice out of it, and then they sell it to some other. It's not like that. The management is still, the company is still run by the owner operator, and that guy, he doesn't much care about the stock market, but the stock has had a reputation of like a growth stock. That's why it, like, when it was at like 260, it was really overvalued. Right now it's like 11 times or 10 times EPS, something like that. The growth is down, but I think that is not because of AI or some other things, but because they had a lot of like contract during COVID, because of all these IT and IT enabled services. Apple, they are the call center providers for Google, Apple, Microsoft, and everyone, and they have call center everywhere. They have like facilities in 80 countries. And I think this AI is not nothing. It's not new to them, because if you turn it upside down, maybe they are going to get benefit of AI. Maybe they can, because they have to employ a lot of people. So maybe if they use AI, they can reduce their workforce, and that is going to have a positive impact on their margins. But I never understood how generative AI can replace really humans. But yes, so just wanted to know, like, anybody had and if you follow payment space, there was another European company called Aiden that had a big drop today. Like it is down by like 40%. If anyone of you follow it.
Yeah, no, I see on Teleperformance, I see the earnings was on July 26th. They were about 158 at the close, reported earnings, then fell down to about 131. What was there, some big earnings shock, or just worse than anticipated?
I think already, because of this AI hype, there was already like sharks circling around it, and then they reported earnings where they said that now they are seeing slowdown in COVID related contracts. So during COVID, they won a lot of new business lines, and most of those business lines are now like, it's a lot like software stocks, because a lot of these cloud players also, they had like Zooms CrowdStrikes and all these payment companies, they had like a jump in earning during COVID because of the sudden digitalization of the economy. But then since COVID onwards, they're seeing the slowdown in their business. It's a bit like PayPal. It's very similar to PayPal, but I think they have a management which is much better than PayPal. They don't have much European companies. They don't dilute a lot of stocks in terms of SBC or other things, and it's still run by the original owner of the company, so he's still involved. And what they did recently was, I think that is the part I'm not so comfortable. They are having 3 billion transactions to buy the third or fourth largest call center operator in Europe. It's called Majorel. It's a company based out of Luxembourg. So they are right now in a cash plus stock deal. So I think they are paying 2 billion out of in cash, and the rest 1 billion would be through stock. But the way the deal was done, the stock was valued at like $217. But some people say maybe the owner himself is involved in bringing down the price. That way he has to pay less amount. I don't know. I don't understand that math, but maybe there is some dynamic also. Because the short sellers, hello?
No, yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you. We'll see.
So because
Monday.
maybe the short sellers, they are going to issue a lot of new stocks to cover that 1 billion remaining for in the cash plus stock deal. So that may be another dynamic that is putting pressure on the stock price. But yes, it's interesting.
Do you know what happened in November of last year? Looks like there's a huge selling volume,
Yes, so
and then it recovered quite a
yes. So
bit.
what happened in November? Those things were not new because these people employ a lot of cheap labor in different geographies, especially in South America. So they have like call center capabilities also in non-English languages such as Spanish. So they employ a lot of people in Bolivia or Chile. So there were some issues where yes, so Facebook is their customer, and what Facebook, whenever someone posts a bad message in social media, usually these media companies, they employ call center type people to delete those messages or just look at those messages if someone reports those messages as offensive content or something like that. So there was some concern, some union guys saying, look, what kind of message we have to read every day to delete them or to flag them as offensive or inoffensive. There was a news article in some Latin American country, and that led to some kind of what usually happens with things nowadays, like but I think that wasn't
A little bit of cancel culture.
yeah, not a cancel culture, because most of their enterprises are mostly, but nowadays people can just take any small issue out of proportion in media, and then they can make what they call right now, social, every company has to put an agenda, like it's thing to environment,
Yeah.
ESG concern. So that was most of ESG concern, mostly because investor perceived a risk, a potential risk, where some of their bigger customers like Apple or Facebook could cancel their contract, but that never materialized. That never happened. They are a good. No, I know it because they are also in India, and I'm from India. And India used to be not right now, but used to be a big player in call centers. So they have a big presence, like even in non-English speaking countries, a lot in South America. So
I can understand that sentiment because if Meta pulls out, then other companies are going to want to follow suit. So I can understand that. But if nothing materialized, it's now been
yeah,
it's been almost a
yeah, that
year.
issue is over.
So
That issue is over. That's why the stock recovered. But from that time onwards, there have been some little bit of issues, and I see a lot of parallels with Meta. But what I'm not so sure is, can generative AI really have an impact on on the future of the business. Now they are selling at like 11 times CPS, so it's really similar to Meta, where because of the Apple IDFA changes, suddenly the market started perceiving a future risk, where they said, the social media social media companies like Facebook is not going to make any money, and then they were able to turn around the business. So I don't know. They are saying that they are investing a lot of money on even increasing their AI capabilities, and the management thinks that using AI they can in fact improve their margins, and that's what I think also, because a call center have to employ really a lot of like people like on low salaries, and then there are issues with unions and all those things. But due to AI, maybe they can decrease their workforce. So for same number of contracts, maybe they can have, and they had a lot of presentations. Investor, if you go into the website, and they presented these things, but I don't know. This company is not much followed among American investors. So, and I can understand that people don't know about it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it before, but it is interesting. I can see how AI would be not so great to the company. But have they invested in AI at all? Are they making any sort of strives to put some like artificial intelligence into the systems then have less and less employees?
So just like go to any website. Let's say you go to a website of Lufthansa, the airline. So like 5 years back, you directly had a number to call. Right now, you would be like you would have difficulty in finding their phone number. There would be a chat box. So I think they provide all those processes also. The processes of chat box where you understand.
Gotcha.
So I think I mean the short thesis is suddenly Facebook would be able to handle their call process, whatever they are doing right now with teleperformance. They would be able to do that in-house. I don't think that is possible. The way American business works or global business work right now, everybody wants to outsource their non-core things to some other players, be it software development or be it call center type of things. Nobody wants to keep it in-house. So I don't know why suddenly Apple or Google or let's say even Meta would start building call center capabilities in-house. That is non-core part of their business. So that is the way I see it, but I don't know.
Makes sense. I get it. I understand it. MT, you asked to speak a few minutes ago. I sort of threw you up here.
No,
I'll give you your turn.
Just curious. What was the ticker you're talking about here? I just missed that first part here.
This is TEP.
TEP?
Yep, on the European markets.
Yeah, it's listed in Paris. Teleperformance. TEP.
How long have you been interested in this stock? How long have you been following? Because you noticed, I talked about the November issue. You knew about that.
No, I live in Paris, so I invest in French stocks. So I follow all. This is one of like they have what they call CAC 40. So I think it is part of the main index. If I'm not so sure. Yeah. So I follow all those main stocks. It's just like when you are in US, you are following all the Dow 30 stocks. So I just follow it. So I got involved like when it had first dropped, then I sold it. When it recovered, then I bought it around like 150. Then they had bad earnings, so I have a small position. I want to invest it, but I'm not not an expert in AI, so I don't know how generative AI. I'm still studying the business, so I don't know if the generative AI can do anything. Another thing, I don't know if the technically on the chart basis the stock is broken. It's and I think it may have a support around like 110 or something like that, because I think it was there 2015-14. So maybe it can have a bounce. But what is peculiar in Europe, like the US markets are really liquid. So US market, you would see a stock would have a bad earning, it would drop, but suddenly the liquidity would start chasing it. Usually with popular stock. I'm not talking about unknown stock, but usually with popular stocks, like people start chasing irrespective of the fact that it may have good earnings or not. But But in Europe, there is not like this. The liquidity is really thin. So once short sellers get hold of something technically, they really break the morale of investors, and the stock is hard to recover. We saw the same thing with Adyen today, if you follow it, ADYEN. It's a Dutch company. It is one of the, I would say, it is one of the best companies in payment sector.
Okay, yeah, I'm not following them. I haven't followed Dutch companies, but if anyone else has, come up, feel free. I'll throw up some more invites out here. Anyone in the chat, feel free to come up, talk about anything. Probably wrap this up relatively soon.
Baron, you mentioned about how generative AI can change some of these, especially the call center jobs. I was on a pretty deep technical conversation with somebody. Look at this company called deepbrain.ai. Right? You can see they're working with some of the largest manufacturers for devices out there. They were mentioning to us about a project where they're going to displace all of the banking sector, bank teller jobs with this AI, what they call a virtual human. Right? It's amazing how they are just influencing the banking sector. They're working with a company like Lenovo's and the Dells of the world, and they're making devices with generative AI, which can actually come in and pretty much take off all of the teller jobs for JP Morgan and people like that.
But I think what I have read little about the AI things, like a generative AI, I think it has to first be trained and mined on the. It's like it's a bit like probabilistic answers. So it infers based on what sort of combination of words it has already seen. That's my understanding. No, you can't have a conscience built into it. So those type of use cases, they are already covered by chat boxes, by the what they call the natural language processing things and all those type of things, where you orient customers initially to a particular department. I think those type of use cases are already being covered from a technological point of view from call center operators. But it is the process in the end when someone has to let's say you wanted to design a job where right now there is a person who is looking at Facebook feeds, and he is flagging whether these feeds are offensive in nature or not, let's say sexual or not. Can you think, not morally, but legally, Facebook would be allowed to do that? Can it put a bot which would decide whether something is politically sensitive or politically offensive or not? I think even legally it would be.
I think they already do that. They scan photos for text, and if it mentions COVID or something like that, they put a disclaimer like read all official COVID facts at the CDC website, things like that. They have been scanning people's posts with an algorithm. Yeah,
exactly. But they would put some kind of notification, but they cannot remove out the post. We are talking, so the kind of things you are saying, you're perfectly right. Those type of things are already happening. I'm talking about the last process where they have to employ a lot of like really physical humans who are reading the post. There are spelling mistakes, there can be context. Can you think a bot can understand the human context and those type of things? I don't think the AI is right now at that level.
To work with ChatGPT, that's how it is, right? I mean, ChatGPT can be trained. I mean, the more you train it, the better the model gets, right? So that's all of that LLM engine that sits behind it, right? So, over a period of time, it will, right? I mean, whether it's right or wrong, but the more you train it, I have 2 or 3 different versions of ChatGPT that I use for different purpose, but I realized that the one I use, basically feeding all of maybe product manager type stuff versus pure marketing stuff. With it responds in a different way. The more you train the same type of feeds to it, the better it is able to respond to your to your prompts, right? That's how I see it. But
Yeah, perfectly. It's perfectly right. But then the question again comes to it. The systems which would be doing that, would that be under control of Facebook, or would they still be outsourcing it to a third party? If they continue to outsource it to third party, it's going to be incremental margins for them, because they can also buy or develop same kind of system.
yeah, I think everybody is going to build their own, right? That's the way it's going, right? I mean, if you look at that space, right? I mean, OpenAI to all of them, right? They all are going to build their own stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Let's see.
I,
Maybe in 5 years, this all generative AI is a fad. Maybe.
no, I don't. You see, that's what you should not. I mean, trust me. Um, I closely work with some of the largest technology people out there. I have seen this is. I take it for a fact. This is not a fad. I'm telling you, it's a fundamental shift that's happening everywhere in every single industry. People are just massively working, putting force in this to actually make the shift. And this shift is not. This shift is happening, right? Whether you want to accept it or not, it's the same thing, man. You look at any technology out there. You look at cloud, like Amazon and how Amazon, Facebook, all these guys have literally destroyed people like Cisco Systems, who are the major players. Like they were never ready to adopt cloud. Like Cisco was the biggest vendor out there when you talk about any networking devices out there, right? But see how they have actually shifted, like they destroyed them. Amazon and the Microsoft, and Microsoft was really good at catching up to it, but they did a good job of coming back to it. But it's the same thing with generative AI and anything AI and ML. What Microsoft is doing today is going to fundamentally shift everything you do in the next decade. I have no doubt about it, and that's how it is. I mean, if you work closely with those guys, you will see it. I work for a very big, large tech company, but I just have seen this happening in. I work for a $80 billion company, and everything that we're doing today, from whether it be hardware, software, it's massive AI work that's getting in to get built. So you won't see the effect of it in the next 12 months, but you're definitely going to see it in the next 2 years or 3 years. There's no doubt about it. That's the way I see it. But I
So
mean,
I would agree. I think the AI is here to stay.
yeah,
I think
it's
it's
here
going
to
to be
stay.
a huge industry, and it's going to change
Yeah.
everything. But the stock mania is a different thing,
No,
right? Are we going
I
to
would say that.
continue to hype the stocks? It's
My point was mostly related to
My
stocks.
personal thing is buy every dip of Microsoft. Trust me, you will never regret it in the next 10 years' time. Every dip of Microsoft, buy it. There's one company that's here, and I'm not even joking. The things they do on the side of security, like there has been so many different security companies out there, but what Microsoft is building today, just with their security stack, is amazing, and they're here to stay, and they'll never go. I mean, I could not say that for Amazon or any other thing, but I think if you are a technology person, if you work closely in technology, Microsoft is here to stay. They would never go. I would buy. I would put any money into them to buy the stocks of Microsoft today. That's how it is.
Yeah, good to hear it from you. Yeah.
like you've
No,
had your
but
hand up for some time. Well, let's speak. Hasn't said anything yet, but he's had his hand up for a while. So go ahead.
Oh no, like I was about to ask some questions about like what's been happening over in the Asia region, but since we're still on the topic of AI, yeah, AI has been a big major pain in my butt recently for the last couple of months. I like that's essentially the biggest reason, minus residual checks that a lot of like writers and actors are just going on strike for. And like we already, like Disney already started using AI stuff like probably last year, probably I'm gonna guess like maybe last summer, I'm guessing, for the visualizations for the intro scene for what was it, Secret Invasion, the new Marvel show or whatnot. um like the entire intro sequence was AI generated, I guess, like Mid Journey type of software that like made the entire sequence, which is kind of amazing. It's
Now,
already
did
putting people out of work. So
did they do that as a statement, like showing the power of AI, or was this done like discreetly?
I think it might have just been a artistic choice from like the art director
That's what.
saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, like like the stuff that like Midjourney is like spitting out right now, like it's really trippy. It doesn't look like human made, and that kind of like goes with the theme of what was that movie? Something of the Body Snatchers or whatever, Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of deal, where like you replace somebody with a scroll or whatever. So
Yeah, from what I've seen, the
But
Midjourney stuff's pretty good, but I've noticed the hands and things like that, random amount of fingers, things like that. It's not quite perfect. I don't think
yeah,
it's going to be perfect for a while, but it's going to get
but
better and better.
I'm
Well,
also gonna throw this out there. There's that new AI joke account, the Trump throughout history. Look at his hands. Like they're improving the hand. Like every iteration of the software that comes with the updates with it is becoming more and more polished. I'm really surprised about like the progression of like just AI generated images. From a I guess from a production standpoint, like it's getting more and more usable. I mean, not to say that it's not 100% perfect. There are some discrepancies that you could probably like point out, like maybe logos and stuff. But the fact that they're able to actually generate decent logos in I guess like in a proportional spatial environment like that's almost photorealistic. It's scary. It is scary. Yeah.
yeah, Midjourney is amazing, man. I used it for almost 6 months. I'll tell you this. I was at a conference for CyberArk a couple of months ago, and they had the entire marketing team do the entire conference, all of the images, all of the presentations, everything that was presented was generated by Midjourney. I mean, that's the time I went and actually started looking to see. I was like, there's no way you could make a differentiation between what's real and what is generated by Midjourney, right? And it's very difficult to say. Hey, I mean, it's almost like taking a real picture, because you could go to Midjourney and say, hey, just generate an image for a person with all of the camera settings in there. You can say focal length, this one, this many megapixels and everything. It'll almost generate a real picture for you. Like, you got to play with it, man. It's only $10 or $20 subscription, but play with it, or you'll be amazed the level of the kind of images that it can generate. It's like you mentioned. It's basically displacing a lot of the jobs, especially on the artistic side. Like, people who are in branding and creating logos, that industry is dead, because you can imagine these marketers are never going to use anything else now. They're not going to use an agency to do it. They'll just have internal people just coming and generating these images for them. I have my brother just start up a SaaS application. He was generating a logo. He never went to anybody. He just used Midjourney to actually generate the logo for that app for his company. And I was like, oh, wow. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, these are like real applications out there, right? I mean, from an AI standpoint, I mean, there's a ton of those things that's out there. But Midjourney is like amazing. You have to use it. Kudos to whoever did that. I mean, to be honest.
I'm also going to throw this out there as someone that actually worked in advertising. I don't think you're going to completely get rid of like the artist per se. Like for instance, like people have been using Fivers to pitch out to these smaller artists to make I guess like design ideas or like initial rough sketches, I guess, for like different uh like logo designs and stuff. But like by the end of the day, you got to do like other branding treatments, different color types, scheme or like fonts, like all that it goes through like usually like a team of other people. So, but
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's just changing.
everything is that way, right? I mean, it's not like you're gonna completely wipe out all the artists here. The art has a value, right? The original art that has been painted, it has a value. But when you look at digital assets like this, it's maybe squeezing the amount of people you need, right? I mean, it's almost like improving the productivity, right? I mean, if you wanted 5 marketing people, now you probably only need 2, right? So that's the benefit to it. Like, I mean, in my daily work, I use ChatGPT a lot. I do stuff on the product. I do marketing stuff a lot. But a lot of the content that I don't even think about, like when I used to, where I used to take 2 weeks to write a content, I probably can do it in an hour now because of ChatGPT. To be very honest, that's how it is.
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, like in
Yeah,
terms of the work saved economics, like you're
yeah,
going to be saving a lot more in terms of like work hours, and then just
yeah.
get straight to like the production stuff.
Yeah, productivity goes up, right? I mean, in many ways, like, why do I have to sit here and think about what email I'm going to write to somebody? I mean, those kind of things are like significantly reduced. That kind of improves the productivity massively. I mean, that these are like real applications of the way I see it. I mean, is it going to completely displace or, take away all of these type of roles? I don't think so either. I completely agree with you. I mean, it's not, but, it's probably going to reduce the number of, man hours to man people that was required to generate the same amount of output, right? So it's in a different level.
Yep. And
Hey, I don't know if anybody followed. The reason why I came here, Wook, was did you guys anybody follow the Palo Alto, because they were going to report earnings later, which is an unusual event. I had bought into some stocks earlier today, but did anybody listen to the Palo Alto call?
I have not.
Okay.
Back on the AI stuff, though. I mean, Hollywood has been in strike, and meanwhile, there was, we talked about this earlier. Netflix listing a compensation of up to $900,000 for a machine learning job. So it's crazy, absolutely. That's, I mean, making almost $1 million for having an understanding of machine learning, and that's at Netflix. So I mean, obviously, that's a company that can make a ton more money with a more advanced algorithm suggesting you better movies and things like that. But wow, I mean, almost $1 million for an AI job. And I pulled up the article here. I'll also pin it in the nest. Let's see, where's this one?
Yeah, and Netflix pays are that way. It's been that, right? I mean, the average pay is anywhere from $250 to $900,000, I think. So
Wow. Yeah, I mean, look at this is 3 times as many AI jobs on Indeed this year than last year.
oh yeah, I mean,
Job listing.
yeah, you can make a ton of money. I agree. I mean, if you're an AI person today.
I think Netflix, they use, even before this AI hype, they were using AI to write scripts, because lot of, if you look at a lot of their content, because they have a lot of like average content and the TV quality content, what used to be cable TV earlier, and those content look like they're not written by humans. So this is what it is. And still feel like to write top quality content, you really need good writers. The kind of shows which HBO does, those still can't come out of AI. But that is how I feel. But yes, if you want to put lot of content, then maybe AI is helpful to you.
speaking of AI and I mean, like the integration of like what's up and coming. Uh, uh, One of the things that like I know the actors were striking for was they don't want their digital likeness used, but I feel like that's gonna happen sooner or later, and it gets a little bit blurry with the video game industry, because technically voice actors actually do fall under SAG-AFTRA also in the video game industry, because so anybody that's in radio, TV, film, and now video games for like since like 10 years ago, I think, fall on their domain, and you're eligible to join the union from that point. But what I also wanted to point out was I remember like a while back when the whole NFT thing was kind of like spiking up, and what was it? Shoot. The newer Matrix movie, like they were doing like a demo with the newest Unreal Engine. And you know how I'm not sure if anyone ever used the Unreal Engine before. They have this plugin for humans called, shoot, what the hell was it called? Was it Persona, or does anyone remember the one that generates people on the fly in an environment? Anybody?
No, I don't remember that one.
Oh, okay. Well, unit the new Unreal.
Yeah, I get the point.
Yeah, so essentially Hollywood's now been using a video game engine to generate everything from like environments, but also digital people too. Like it's able to randomly generate people like photorealistic people from like a bunch of different like asset points, and then what I'm trying to say is after a certain while, like like some of these like the integration of like AI, you might actually have like the early version of like digital life if we want to get like a little bit sci-fi, but it's just like a interesting thing to think about. But again, right now, like the AI that we see right now, it's just crap. What the hell was it called? Where someone just like repeats to you. It's just like a very very smart like a repeat box or whatnot. But it can't like fully do everything that a human can do. But I do see like some bullishness for I guess like the Unreal Engine and like Epic Games, because like that's the biggest engine that's being used throughout Hollywood at the moment. But I also have a question about like what's been happening with China. Whenever you guys want to like switch to that topic, but I'll step back for a second.
Well, just staying on this topic just a little bit, I wanted to propose to you, maybe you have some thoughts on this. Say a movie or a film or even a video game was to take Morgan Freeman's voice, run it through an algorithm, and get him to get his voice to like commentate over a movie or be a character in a video game. Does he have any right to that? Because it's generated based off his voice, but it's not things he's said, right? And that could go even further, but it's weird. Like everyone, it's an iconic voice. Everyone knows his voice, but if it's not him actually saying these things, and a company just used previous things he said to put together, an algorithm that can say things that sound like him. Does he have copyright over that?
That's a combination of like both an estate issue and an IP issue. So like, let's say if I say, hey, if I die, you're more than allowed to use my likeness for whatever, then yes. But after, like let's say somebody recently died the last, wait, who was somebody that was digitally remade after they died? Like let's say Carrie Fisher
Tupac?
or whatever. Yeah, like Tupac.
Yeah,
as
Tupac.
long as like the estate okays it, whoever owns the IP, then that's probably okay. But the gray area here is like what was contractually done and what was like essentially it's all up to the contracts right now and who owns the estate. That's just the bottom line, and like if they okayed it. So if Morgan Freeman never really signed a contract saying yes or no either way, but his grandchildren owns the estate, then yeah, they're the one that has to say yes or no to using his likeness or his voice for Morgan Freeman, saying, "Hello, this is Morgan Freeman. I've been dead for 50 years," and titty sprinkles or some shit like that. So.
Totally makes sense. It's interesting. It really is interesting, and obviously there's not been any litigation or anything yet, no precedent set. But
yeah, if anybody is an actual lawyer that could speak on IP law, that'd be fantastic. Because I'm not a lawyer myself, and the only other person I could ask is my little sister, and she doesn't really do IP. She does contractual law. So, yeah. So if anybody is familiar with IP law, please speak up.
And what did you want to speak again? You wanted to talk a little about China?
Yeah, so like I'm kind of curious about like with what's been happening recently with like Evergrande officially doing bankruptcy, and then what was it, like China Country Garden group, and then just like not being able to pay back some of their debts in time, and then essentially like they're having like a the Chinese version of the Lehman Brothers crisis over in China, and my parents are freaking out because like it's all over Korean news, and they're worried about like another market crash around like the Asia Pacific region. Is there any contagion that we should be aware of if anybody's an expert on that region and like that market, and like any yeah, that's essentially it with what's been happening in China this last week.
Well, Lehman Brothers was a bank, right? So people had their money in there. They had their like investments in dollars in there. These are mostly property developers they're going bust. I think they're all property developers, Country Garden and Evergrande and the like. Zhongrong, I think, is another one. But yeah, I mean, this is just a direct result of the Chinese government 2 years ago cutting restricting the leverage ratios of these developers, and their whole business model basically stopped working. So there's going to be a default. There are going to be more defaults and more restructuring. So I mean, it's going to be really painful, for these property developers over the next couple of years. But I don't see any, hard evidence that this is going to, be contagion across, other industries and beyond like construction, for example, and into other markets. Like, I don't know how closely tied the South Korean stock market is to Chinese property developers.
Like the way that like the China or the Korean media is presenting it, like they mentioned Lehman Brothers repeatedly, mainly because like the biggest difference, like you said, it's real estate developers versus banks that own the mortgage-backed securities. But they were just mentioning like how there's like really, I guess they might be sensationalizing it a little bit. So they're talking about just a lot of the similarities back from '08, which was really surprising. And a lot of these are like more conservative media, like in KBS and like YTN, I believe. This was all like last night when news broke like 2 hours after Evergrande officially filed or whatever. And then the like I guess like the other portion is like like with the what was it, like I want to say blockade, but it was like the trade restrictions with Korea. A lot of the consumer side is taking a very, very big hit, where the general economy for like normal people is hurting a lot more than usual, from what I've been hearing through the grapevine, essentially. So I'm kind of curious if the Chinese real estate developers going down might actually have an effect on Chinese banks, because like they might have invested into them there, and also I'm not sure if they issued bonds for them, and then the Chinese banks might get affected, which in turn affects any other international holders of maybe Chinese debt or something like that. I know like the Chinese government just recently told Chinese banks not to sell stocks. So I'm not sure if that's in order to contain what's happening over there, or if there's a bigger issue that we could probably guess or like be on the lookout for, just in case.
I think that the big difference between this situation and what happened in 2008 is that in this situation, people buying the homes, they have equity. They don't have nearly as much leverage as people did back in the States, right? To get a mortgage, it's not easy to get a mortgage in China, and even if you do, you have to put at least 30% down. Some people, put 50%, 70%, even they just buy cash. Right. So it's not really a problem of, people, taking leverage and buying home after home after home. Maybe there's some people doing that are, they're getting their face ripped off right now. But for the most part, it's these property developers that, borrowed a lot of money to build buildings, and they couldn't finish them all, right? Because they're not allowed to borrow anymore. And they have a bunch of unfinished buildings that people want to buy, but they can't sell them anymore because they can't finish them. So I mean that's the first order problem, right? And then like there's some second order effects, right? If this this problem of the developers going down, it's going to affect demand for housing, perhaps. I don't know how it will affect in the lower tier cities, right? Like the prices have been going down. And in big cities too, but not as much. But yeah, it's not really clear. I mean, I think there's a lot of sensationalizing in the media, but yeah, it looks pretty bad with the market, right? The stocks of these developers has gone down, and it doesn't bode well for confidence in Chinese markets and equities. So
I think I have a bit different understanding. But I'm not a Chinese. I've never been to China. But what I've read is like They have a lot of concurrent issues which are all hitting them at same time. So they have been dragging this real estate thing since last time. But there's a difference between US and China in the sense that in US for an average person, let's say if his equity cushion was not just real estate, so he had 401k, some savings in bond, maybe some in retirement income, and something in real estate. But the problem in China, I think most of the people, they only knew how to invest in real estate, so they put all their savings in real estate. So I think contrary to what happens in Europe and United States, when you have a property, then you rent it out. I don't think China is that much of a renter's market. Most of the people bought apartments there or condos there just for the appreciation of price. And real estate was the only asset class available to middle class Chinese people. That is my understanding. So it's going to be drag. Can it have a contagion effect? I don't think so, because the Chinese papers are not held globally by all the global banks, which was the case during 2008 to 2009 crisis, where even Spanish banks had papers from Goldman Sachs and other American banks, or market-based securities, which were issued by American operators. So yes, contagion risk is less, but I think Chinese are really in a big shit show. They also have the problem with demographics. It's more or less looking like the lost decade of Japanese market after the crash of 1989. The Japanese had the same thing. They had like big up, then crashed, then they took, I think, 20 years to recover it. So it looks more and more like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is a problem, right? That a lot of people use real estate as a savings vehicle, and they'll probably have to find some other way. But like, I think another addition into real estate is that, a lot of people that have their own small business. A lot of people own small businesses in China. A lot of people, their family runs a factory, right? And the cousin goes and opens a factory next door. And so like, people do have other things besides real estate going on there. It's not just, everybody's just buying real estate. And people do buy homes. If you get married and have a kid, you have to, have a home, right? And people kind of save homes for the next generation. If, their grandson is born, right? Or they have more kids in the family. But yeah, I think this is, you're totally right that this is a big problem. People are very overexposed to real estate, and there needs to be some other way to save money in China besides just buying more homes.
If you just saw last week, they stopped reporting youth unemployment figures. So, and if you look at like all the GDP numbers, or the PMI data and everything, it's saying a big deflationary event is going to happen in China. I mean, the prices are just collapsing. In a sense, it's good. It may be good for the foreign markets, because the Chinese may create a lot of spare capacity, industrial capacity, and that's what we are seeing in export number for automobiles. If you look like if you see the news every day, Tesla is like reducing their prices by big amounts. Why they are doing that? Because they have like 9,000 registered electric vehicle companies in China. And there is so much capacity that what they are going to do. And I checked the last export number, and the only category which had the highest growth, that was the automobile, electric. And they are dumping all those cars in Europe, especially in Europe. Americans would not be so keen to buy Chinese cars, but in Europe, they're going to sell it in Eastern Europe. There are a lot of brands. I have just started seeing them in last 6 months, but I'm sure it's a big problem for Chinese other than the automobile sector. And for automobile, it's problem for the European car manufacturers like Volkswagen or Stellantis or Ford, which also has some market in Europe. So this is the way I see it.
Yeah, and with sanctions, especially, the chip sanctions that started, into COVID, caused a huge glut of supply in China. So, we kind of have knock-on effects of, this huge just supply of stuff from China that, they can't really sell all of it.
I think the big hope investors are waiting is the policy response which has been like dim till now. They are expecting some kind of fireworks the way we had in 2009. What was it called? Asset relief program. There were two rounds. TARP. It was called TARP. No. Troubled Asset Relief Program, something like that. Which Obama and Hank Paulson they planned it just after the 2008 crisis to save the market from crashing. So the investors are expecting the same things, similar things from Chinese policymakers. I don't know if they would do it.
Yeah, I think there will definitely be restructuring for these property developers, but beyond that, I don't know what kind of stimulus the Chinese government will do, or if they will even be perceived as a stimulus. If they're gonna, try to, get more people to invest in stocks. I don't know how they're gonna do that, right? But they've been opening new stock exchanges and trying to lower fees. I think I saw a piece today about them lowering fees, trading fees, and making that market more efficient. I don't know if that's a big enough sell, right, for people who are already wary of property market and they're going to invest in stocks. It's kind of even more risky to them, perceived risk, but yeah.
I mean, all these things, asking public sector banks to buy stock. I mean, these are the typical responses from communist government. Look at the Hang Seng. It is the same level it was in like 1980s. How can you have that? Like globally, all the markets, even Argentinian market, where we had like a big inflation problem, even in Turkish markets, stock market is up. China and Hang Seng are the only market where the market is at the same level. In spite of all those growth, what is it telling you? It is just telling you the people don't believe what comes out of the mouth of Chinese policymakers. They don't believe it. I mean, they had nominal growth, but I think from like capital preservance point of view, they don't agree with the Chinese policymakers. That is as simple as that. I'm sure they have a lot of good companies, Tencent and all this stuff, BYD, but I think they've lost lot of goodwill. The way they handled things. I mean, one day it is one thing, another day it is another thing. One day they will say they want to put constraint on tech sector participants. Next day, no, they want to liberalize them. Third day, they will ask public sector bank to buy the stocks. Fourth day to sell. So nobody knows. I mean, it's one person game. So this is what it is. That's why these dictatorships, they are not meant for for good stock market.
So, like, I see you throwing a thumbs up in the spaces. Yeah, a lot to digest there. It's been a rocky road, and there's Chinese government. I don't know if they're going to intervene. I can't imagine it would be on the same level as TARP. I had pulled up TARP and taken a look. I don't quite remember it, but give myself a little refresher. I can't imagine CCP going to that length, but Psych, go ahead. I see you trying to get your word in here.
Oh no, I'm sure they've already intervened because I mean I can't confirm it, but then there are tweets going around saying that the Chinese government told the Chinese banks not to sell stocks, which like if they did tell them, I would not be surprised at all. Like with you know what they're able to do. Yeah, it's just been like a really interesting week. That and like the downgrades from Fitch. What did Fitch already downgrade the banks, or did they say they're warning that they're going to downgrade the banks again? Like the like J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, the ones with the AAA rating.
I think they downgraded Bank of America, I think, right? I thought I saw some of like they've been creating a ruckus in the market these days.
Do you know like if they have a lot of like Chinese exposure? Because like I think like my mom asked me like recently, it's like, hey, like, are you still holding on to your Bank of America? It's like, yeah, why? It's like they might have too much Chinese exposure or something like that. And then like, mom, just calm down, but don't
No,
worry.
I don't think Bank of America has issues
No,
with Chinese
warning. They just
exposure.
warning. Yeah, they're just warning.
But they have won lot of regional banks also. I think Bank of America issues is mainly the issue they had in like March, where they hold a lot of long end bonds, and the nominal price of those bonds have decreased a lot. So that is putting pressure on their balance sheet. Like if those were to be valued on current prices and get reflected on their balance sheet. But that is problem with lot. That is also a problem with a lot of other banks.
Yeah,
Some
the
of
same thing
them,
that essentially like that knocked out like the SVB and like the other ones, because like once they found out that like either they had to actually realize their paper losses, or they didn't really have
exactly.
as many assets on hand. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. The two kind of accounting lines. One which you can hold to maturity, another you have to realize the losses. If the bank says it can take a 30-year bond for the next 30 years, then it is allowed by the regulators to not report that those paper losses in the current year. So I think the market still perceives that risk, and that's why you are seeing pressure on the equity of Bank of America, let's say compared to JP Morgan or other big bank.
Yeah, with that, I mean, we're looking at 2:46 here on the West Coast, about 14 minutes till the end of the hour. I think I'll wrap it here, though. We've had a pretty lengthy discussion. This is our first ever Wook review without our managing director, Rod Ellison. So, still a pretty productive discussion. I see seeing the sad emojis thrown out there. Gotta love Rod. He's out of office. We'll all be back next week, though. We'll host the open mic over on at GMEDD. So tune into that. That'll be 7 p.m. on Wednesday of next week. We do that every week over there, so make sure you follow that account as well. Look and Review also be back upcoming Friday, and the book club will be hosted on the Discord server on the 29th. So tune in, check out wook.gg to join our Discord server. There'll be more information over there on the book club. But yeah, thanks to everyone tuning in. It's been a good discussion. Start of the weekend coming up now. It's Friday. It'll be rainy one, I think, here in San Diego. Hopefully the hurricane's not too bad. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Wrap it up here. This replay will be available on YouTube pretty soon if you want to see anything you missed, see the visuals as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.